Good day and welcome to the League of Women Voters Meet the Candidate Forum, a program produced in collaboration with WTJX for well over 35 years. It is our hope that through these programs, you, the voting public, will have a better understanding of each candidate running for elective office in the U.S. Virgin Islands. We invite you to look at all our programs for the 2022 election year right here on WTJX with candidates seeking office as a governor, senator, or as lieutenant governor. Although all candidates for these positions were invited, not all responded or accepted the invitation. We are delighted to have here today two candidates running for the position of senator in the District of St. Croix. I am Denyce Singleton, and I will serve as the moderator for today's program. The candidates have been informed in advance of the guidelines for the program. No candidate had access to the questions in advance. The first responder to each question will be rotated among the participants. Answers are generally 60 or 90 seconds with challenges and rebuttals of 60 seconds each. Changes in timing of a question will be announced in advance. Any comment directed specifically at another participant will be followed by a rebuttal of 60 seconds. All are expected to be respectful of everyone. So let's begin. I will ask each candidate to identify who they are and to state their political affiliation and ballot number. We will learn more about each candidate as our discussion ensues. Let's start with Mr. Tyrone Molyneaux. Please state your name, ballot number, and affiliation.
Again, greetings, Ms. Singleton, and thank you to the Leader of Women Voters and Channel 12. I am Tyrone Molyneaux. I am an ICM candidate on the ballot. Number 4 is my number.
Thank you. Now, our next participant, would you please state your name, ballot number, and affiliation?
Greetings. I am Diane Capehart, your Democratic candidate, and I am number 19 on the ballot.
Okay. Now let's begin by talking about your readiness to be a senator. Here is a two-part question for which you will each have 90 seconds to answer. We are going to begin with Mr. Molyneaux, and here is the question. As a candidate for a seat in the VI legislature, what are your competencies as well as education or training that will make you a good choice to address our issues as a senator? And what are your recent accomplishments that show your skills and readiness to assume the responsibility of the office? Again, you have 90 seconds for your answer.
Again, I'm Tyrone Molyneaux, candidate number 4 on your ballot. I am prepared to serve the people of the Virgin Islands. I believe it's important that we look out for not only this generation, but the next generation and the next generation. So over the course of my experience as far as president of the St. Croix Federation of Teachers for the last 10 years, from 2000 to 2020, I served as the 3rd president of this prestigious, awesome organization. In addition to that, I serve as the Central Labor Council president for 2 years. In addition, I serve with the Caribbean Union of Teachers for 2 years as an officer, as a trustee. So these organizations, my involvement in this community has prepared me to represent the people in these Virgin Islands, especially St. Croix.
Thank you. Ms. Capehart?
Thank you. I have been a public servant in this community for over 27 years. I've served in the Virgin Islands government in different capacities. I have served in the Medicaid arena. I have worked at the Department of Planning and Natural Resources for 15 years. I've worked for Department of Health. I've worked for also the police department where I presently am employed. I've been a public servant serving in many different organizations. I've attended the Harcum College in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. And in the 30th legislature, when I was elected, I can say I was the proud sponsor of 58 pieces of bills and amendments, and 8 that is now 8 impactful law in this territory, from addressing computer crimes, missing minors, bullying, home invasion. So I have impactful legislation, and experience is what I bring to the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to move to the vision, your vision for the Virgin Islands. And this time we're going to start with you, Ms. Capehart. 2027 will mark the 100th anniversary of American citizenship for Virgin Islanders and 110 years since purchase from Denmark. The question is, what is your vision with respect to self-governance for the USVI, and what role do you intend to play, if any?
That's a good question. So what I would like to see for in the next 2027, you said?
Which will be our 100th anniversary.
100th anniversary. I look forward to seeing a better Virgin Islands where we would be in times with our infrastructure, from the healthcare to education. Presently, we can say that with time, with our past hurricanes and even pandemic, I think we have somewhat regressed. And I think moving forward, we need to be able to move with the times and start working on legislation, from working with the executive branch, legislature, even the judicial branch, trying to see how we can move these Virgin Islands forward so we can then compete in other areas. And I look forward to being part of that team. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Molyneaux.
Yes, as per my platform, and I'm not bragging, but I'm saying that my platform is outstanding in terms of any senator or any gubernatorial platform or plan for these Virgin Islands. And I'd like to start off with reapportionment, that is the restructuring of the government, meaning that we need representative when it comes to elected officials. We have a system in place right now when you have 7 senators representing 1 district. It's unconstitutional. And we are saying that we want to go back to wherein you have districts, you'll have 9 district senators, 6 at-large senators, and this will bring accountability, and it bring us into what we call self-government, bring us into accountability, more responsible government, and then, you know, the people will be, it'll be like restoring power to the people, like the Republican form of government indicates.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the next question, and Mr. Molyneaux, you will again be responding first on moral and ethical behavior. To what extent should moral or ethical issues in the private life of political candidates be taken into account by voters in making their choices, and why? You have 60 seconds.
Again, you know, it's what happens in your private life, that's your private life. What happens in public, that you bring to the public, then that's public life. So I respect anyone who has their way of life, their desired way of life, that's up to them. But when you bring it to the public and encourage the public, then you have to suffer the consequences, whether it's ridicule or even to what we have right now, where you have a major case in our court in reference to abuse of our children.
Thank you. Ms. Capehart?
That is very important for me as we are running for the first branch of government, which all candidates should take moral and ethics very serious. Once you're a public servant, you are in the community, and for me, has always been my motto: live clean and let your works be seen. So once you are in that position, you have to make sure that you walk a straight line, because you are representing the people, and your morals and ethics should be strong ones, that people look up to you and respect you as their representative in the territory.
Thank you. We are going to move to a new topic called major concerns. In a recent poll of the electorate in 2022, voters identified 4 areas of major concern as being education, crime, health, and WAPA. Let's look at each one separately and address what your responses would be for these matters if elected to the 35th legislature. We will begin with you, Ms. Capehart, and we will start with respect to education, cited by voters as one of their 4 major concerns. What do you see as the primary challenges facing education today, and what would be your strategies for addressing them as a senator in the 35th legislature? You have 90 seconds.
I think better infrastructure, better learning environment, clean working environment, not only for the students, but also for the teachers. I think better after-school programs that we have now put our children somewhat behind, and I think that we should be able to get our children ready for the world, and they should be better prepared. So I think that we should better prepare our children with after-school programs, strengthening them. I think not only after-school programs, more bringing advancement with technology. This is important. We have to be able to prepare our children as they reach 12th grade, when they go to college, that they comprehend, they can read, and they can compete. And we should be able to retain our students also here to be employable in this community. So I am willing and ready to work with the Department of Education so we can be ahead of this game. I think we have slighted our children in this community, and it's time now that we take education as a high priority for our children.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we will move to you, Mr. Molyneaux, on education.
Well, again, I would say that first is to remove the politics out of education. And that is, the Commissioner of Education should be hired by the Board of Education. This is the only place in the United States where the governor appoints the commissioner and maintains his political power. School reform. As a former educator, former president of the St. Croix Federation of Teachers, we see where student discipline has disrupted the school day and interfered with learning. So we believe there should be a separate campus for those students so they can be helped and be productive citizens in our community. We believe that VI history and Caribbean history should be taught in our school. We believe there should be 3 distinct curriculum. Right now we just have one curriculum, so it's like one hat fits all. So we say let's have a separate curriculum from K to 6, 7 to 8, and 9 to 12. In addition, career and technical education credits should be required for each student graduated from our high school. Again, primarily with the loss of so many days, hurricane, COVID, I believe we should have all year round school for a certain number of years.
Thank you for
Welcome.
your response. Okay, now continuing with our areas of concern, we're going to begin with you this time, Mr. Molyneaux, but we're going to move to health. Many leave the territory in search of health care, especially on St. Croix. What do you see as the primary challenges regarding health care, and what would your strategies be for addressing them as a senator in the 35th legislature? You have 90 seconds.
Thank you for the question. First of all, I believe that healthcare should be one of our primary concerns. And apparently, it doesn't matter. You take the Louis Hospital, for instance, no toilet inside the facility. You have to actually exit the facilities to utilize bathroom, toilet facilities. That should never happen. We have a cardiac center. A young man by the name of Dr. Kendall Griffin spent his time, his energy for us to set up a state-of-the-art facility so we don't have to leave the island for these type of health care. What's happening right now? Well, he left the island because of, I don't know the reason, but the facility is sitting there like it's a statue. And we need this, people with heart problems, you must have some kind of assistance. St. Thomas, a cancer center. So healthcare definitely is a priority. Health and safety definitely is a priority. And if elected, I would ensure that many of the workers, because right now we actually import workers from all around the world. You go to the hospital, you think you're in the United Nations. The amount of different languages, different people. So why not create some incentives for our children to take these jobs, other than just being the janitor, other than just being the clerk.
Take a few seconds, finish your thought.
Yeah. So the idea is to provide opportunities for our children to benefit, to provide health care to us in our old and golden years.
Thank you very much. Ms. Capehart, your
Thank you. Understanding the quality of care that particularly the people of St. Croix that we have, and being a former administrator of Medicaid, I think that we need to work on a holistic, sustainable in health infrastructure that we can be able to create better connection with specialized doctors, recruiting specialized doctors to come to the Virgin Islands. It's a matter of public-private partnership. And as a senator, I would be that one to advocate for better health care. It is unbelievable that most of our individuals in the territory have to leave the territory to seek better health care. And it's a simple fix. If we just have that public-private partnership, that we can work to create a better healthcare system. It's serious when, yes, you can go to the hospital and you have to be faced with simple, low-hanging fruits that can be tended to. We need to understand that healthcare is important, and it's also a money-making business, as we are now facing where we would have this visa waiver. We need to start looking at medical tourism, that we can be able to ask individuals from different Eastern Caribbean islands that St. Croix, the Virgin Islands, is where you can come and seek medical care. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the next area of concern, and this time we're going to start with Ms. Capehart with respect to crime. What do you see as the challenges, and what would be your strategies for addressing them as a senator in the 35th legislature? You have 90 seconds.
Yes, I presently am employed at the police department, so I understand some of the challenges the police department face. And more money is always important. I want to work on getting specialized trained units to address with having the police individuals trained, that they can respond to individuals who have mental behavioral issues. That we need trained units. We need more cameras in more areas. We need more money for more training for our police officers. We need more money for this department, that we can recruit individuals. We can hire more police officers. If we start saying police officers make this amount, you would see individuals probably want to even serve because it's a dangerous work to do and you need to be compensated. So more money is always important, but I would always be an advocate being a present employee at the police department. I understand the challenges they face. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Now, Mr. Molyneaux?
Yeah, thank you. As a former member, being one of the first appointed by the first Governor Melvin Evans, to serve on the Youth Commission as a board member. And you talking, I was probably in my teens at that time. And again, we know that the Youth Commission was very effective in bridging the gaps between communities and neighborhoods. Right now, the crime is taking place with neighborhoods versus neighborhoods. The Virgin Islands, is shame to say, is rated as number 4 in the world when it comes to murder as per capita. Just this week, past week, we lost at least 4 individuals died here in St. Croix. Prevention. Again, in my platform, we talk about a reform school, a reform campus, where we can save our children. You know, remove them. We had these before. In St. Thomas, you had the Mandel School. In St. Croix, you had Insular School at Anna's Hope, and it was effective. You know, a gentleman by the name of John Bell talked about his experience and how this institution helped him to become a senator, a candidate for lieutenant governor. And so, yes, we have to believe in our children and provide opportunities for them.
Okay, I'm going to stick with that for a minute because I noticed that no one mentioned sexual assault. And so I'm going to ask you a question around that topic. And I'm going to begin this time with you, Mr. Molyneaux. Sexual assault against our children is a concern in our community. Recent disclosure of assaults against 12 schoolboys by a teacher is shocking, and the community was rightfully outraged. But girls are raped and assaulted too. How can you, as a senator, protect our boys and girls from sexual assault by adults? You have 60 seconds on that one.
Well, and I'm glad you brought it up because it is an issue in our community when you have sexual abuse taking place by adults. And it should not be business as usual. And, you know, you look at the University of the Virgin Islands, within recent times, with all their ability to screen, hired 2 individuals who came here with criminal records. And we have had that before within the Department of Education. So good screening is important. Openness with the children, having some kind of counseling program ongoing so they can speak up and you know, have confidence in individuals who they have disclosed what's going on. The same incident you pointed out at the high school. It was indicated that complaints was made to the school administration about the perception that something was not right. And what happened? Again, it comes back to accountability, it's come back to responsibility, and it comes back to us having faith in our children and believing in them.
Thank you. Ms. Capehart?
While creating a great learning environment for the children and having teachers who are teaching them, we have to be able to have better background checks. And I think that is a collaboration with working with the police department, that all teachers be screened. They have to go through a background check, that there is no question about who this individual that is teaching these children in our community. So I think real in-depth background check will eliminate any individual who have the availability to subjecting our children to any kind of abuse. So I think stronger background checks with the Department of Police that collaboration would help. Thank you.
Okay. Now we're going to move to everybody's favorite topic. Ms. Capehart, tell us something that you think with respect to WAPA. What are the major challenges, and what would your strategy be for addressing them as a senator in the 35th legislature? Ms. Capehart.
Yeah, I consider WAPA our dinosaur on our back. And I think eliminating our 100% total dependency on fossil fuel is our problem. I think we need to start looking at alternative energy. We've talked about this time and time again. We are in an area in this world that we have sun 24/7. We need to take advantage of alternative energy. Solar, we have all different kinds of things that we can utilize. We've tried propane. We need to take this serious and have this offset. When I was in the 30th legislature, I voted on legislation that was supposed to have a 30% reduction with solar and propane. That didn't happen. With time, we need to revisit this to get off that total dependency of fossil fuel. Thank you.
Okay. Same question to you, and you have 90 seconds, Mr.
WAPA
Molyneaux.
is out of control. Mismanaged, LEAC, highest rate in the world, money stolen, contracts like Ms. Capehart pointed out, they provided monies to WAPA to go propane. The price started at one price and doubled to the point where the company now was able, in a position, they can actually take over and own WAPA because of the amount of monies that are owed to the company. Solar power. We live in a place where there's a reason why we should not take advantage of solar power, solar energy. You have the wind. And if we want to be creative, we can go to the ocean. But WAPA problem is accountability, holding them accountable. Management of the facilities is needed. WAPA pumps in through the 7 Seas approximately 3 million gallons of water a day to make potable water, which is drinkable water. At the end of the day, waste management takes and discharge it back into the Caribbean Sea, 3 million gallons of this water that they clean up and treat it. So again, we can take this water, bring it back inland, create artificial lakes where our farmers can benefit from this water that's being discharged into the Caribbean Sea daily.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move away from those major concerns to a new question. And we will begin this question with you, Mr. Molyneaux. For the first time in about 25 years, GERS was not identified as a major concern. What is your understanding of why this is so, and what lessons can we learn about how this came to be? You have 60 seconds.
Okay, well, I spent 10 years attending every single GRS board meeting. One of the things I've advocated and continue to advocate today when we talk about accountability is mirror the Social Security system. When every single worker receives an annual statement from Social Security indicating your contribution and your employer contribution. It don't happen here in the Virgin Islands. So you end up with this calamity. We owe this, they owe this. Unbelievable. Now, this information about WAPA has been saved is a myth. We know it's a myth. You know, they take money away from one thing to give it to another thing. Now, GRS is owed maybe close to $2 to $3 billion as a result of unfunded liabilities that was done by senators and governors over the years. And so...
All right, time has expired. Okay. And Ms. Capehart, I'm sure you're glad to talk about this subject.
Yeah, GERS, the Virgin Islands government retirement system was one of the best places to retire from. Unfortunately, in the past, there has been some bad decision made by the board, bad investments made, and unfortunately, the people of the Virgin Islands had to pay for that. Now they're talking about doing the personal loans. This was something that individuals who, like myself, a parent who depended on getting those personal loans to provide a private school for my children, and every one of us looked forward to that. I would like to see this happen again, but working with the department, with GERS, was facing insolvency. But with this recent save that we have, that's just a temporary fix. People, that is not a permanent fix. It's just a Band-Aid for now. So trust that when I am elected, that we continue looking on ways that we can have long-term stability for GERS. Thank you.
Okay. All right, now we're going to move to a different topic again, and we're going to talk about economic development. And we're going to talk about it from the focus of growing the economy. While tourism is the backbone of our economy, the majority of the electorate do not work in that industry. Many work in government, but that does little to bring in new dollars. So what's left is the private sector. What have you done or plan to do as a senator to grow and support the private sector and to encourage more locals to become successful in the private sector? We're going to begin with Ms. Capehart, and you have 60 seconds.
When I was in the 30th legislature, a business owner came to me and said, Capehart, you need to look into parity fairness for the business owners. That's where I got the Preferred Bidders Act for small business owners to have surety and that they get first preference to bidding to help them with performance of the surety bonds. So I'm one of those advocates that believe in looking out for our small business owners. I want to be able to continue working on creating economic development for our people of the Virgin Islands because it's important. We cannot continue to recruit individuals from outside for us to depend on them. So I am just that advocate that would continue working on bills like the Preferred Bidders Act. So I look forward to continue on economic development, sustainability for the VI.
Thank you. Mr. Molyneaux.
Yes, my vision and our vision should be for the next generation and the next generation. In my platform, we have what you call finance and banking. And that is, if elected, I will ensure that the Virgin Islands Territorial Bank shall be established. And it shall be the only legal depository for all Virgin Islands funds. And it shall fund development, promote agriculture and industry, and service our community. So that's the answer to our economic development. All our money should be in this bank. GRS, as a matter of fact, GRS should put money in the bank. We should have GRS actually buying the Home Depots. Should be owned by the GRS. So our people can benefit in the long run from these two lucrative businesses in the Virgin Islands. Should be owned by us. You talk about opportunities, businesses, private sector, home ownership, affordable housing. With your own bank, sky's the limit. You can look, just want to say, you can look at the model. There's only one state, North Dakota, with a state bank.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on to the next question, and we're going to begin with Mr. Molyneaux. The pandemic has shown us that we need to diversify our economy to supplement our dependence on tourism. What other opportunities do you see besides tourism and alcohol for growing and diversifying our economy? And what are the challenges to making them a reality? 60 seconds.
First of all, we need what we call a separate land and water use plan. Again, we know that tourism is the backbone of the Virgin Islands, but the majority don't necessarily benefit from tourism. So in my plan, in my platform, we talk about homesteading. We're talking about putting together processing plants, packaging plants. Example, you have Armstrong ice cream in St. Croix. You have the right facilities in place. We could package that ice cream and make sure that it's in all the stores in the Virgin Islands. So all of these imported ice cream will not compete. It's about from the inside out. Agriculture. There's no reason why we should not be able to take some kind of crop and process it. You know, I believe that each household, if you have for example, you have a mango tree in your yard. We should be able to come to your mango tree, collect your mangoes, process it, whether we make dry mangoes, mango juice, you know, whatever it is. But we are saying processing and packaging is the way to go to move our economy and to diversify our economy.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you. You know, we live in such a small community that we can be so creative. And particularly St. Croix, because we benefit from the Jones Act, I've always talked about a transshipment port. We need to start looking at these things that we can have big ships stop to St. Croix, they offload, they then carry on to Eastern Caribbean islands as our transshipment port. You can use St. Croix as a fueling hub station. There are so many things that we can do in a territory. Agriculture, as Tyrone mentioned, that is something that we need to be able, because we need to be able to sustain ourselves. Another pandemic hits, that we need to be able to feed ourselves. We have, St. Croix used to be the breadbasket of the Virgin Islands. We need to start looking at these industries that we can feed ourselves and be creative. We live in a small community and we need to come together to be creative so we can start being able to generate funds, economic development, that we can be an example for the Caribbean. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to begin with you on our next question, Ms. Capehart. WICO proposes to dredge the St. Thomas Harbor to accommodate larger and more cruise ships. Do you agree that more and bigger is the way to stay competitive in the tourism market? And explain your response. 60 seconds for this question.
You know, I believe in parity. And while St. Thomas may want the dredging of their harbors to accommodate more ships, we need to look at our sister island, St. Croix. What do we need to even accommodate our tourists that want to come to our island? So we need to start looking at, you know, what do we have on St. Croix that is unique that we can sell? So they have already looked at, you know, being able to accommodate smaller ships into the Gallows Bay area. This is being done, but I believe in parity. So what is being done for one island must be done for another island. Parity is important for me. So we all have each island has its own unique characteristic, and I think we need to be able to hone in onto these characteristics and be able to generate funding from those. Thank you.
Okay.
I think it's a bad idea. We know the cruise ship don't really stimulate or bring money to an economy. It's mainly for the cruise ship industry. We should be investing in hotels. St. Croix, we should have a small to medium-sized convention center. And it don't have to be attached. It don't have to be attached to a hotel. It could be a standalone convention center. Many times, as the president of the St. Croix Federation of Teachers, and I'm on conferences and conventions, there's always this request: when can we come to the Virgin Islands? When can we have a meeting, a convention, a conference in the Virgin Islands? And the limitation has always been hotel room, the space to accommodate them. So for the PFA to put $17 million into Waiko, and you have the Wang Louis Hospital without toilet facilities, it tells me, where's our priority? Who's running St. Thomas? Who's running the cruise ship? Who's running us? And I'm saying that we, the people of the Virgin, we're the majority. Okay? And we should say enough is enough when it comes to spending all this money into tourism and then neglecting the rest of your economy in terms of your agribusiness.
You finished?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move to a new topic again, and we're going to begin with Mr. Molyneaux. Medical marijuana was intended as a possible boost to the economy, and an office has been created to develop policies and procedures for oversight of medical marijuana in the territory. It appears that little has come from it thus far. What do you see as the role of the legislature in addressing the matter? You have 60 seconds.
Well, if it comes to food and marijuana, I think it's an easy decision for the legislature. You know, we spend about over $900 million a year on importing food. And medical marijuana is not the solution. You know, it's not the solution. I asked some individuals who did the tour of those facilities out in the Northwest and the Midwest. I asked them, who ran these facilities? Was there anyone that looked like you and me? No. You know, and it's big bucks, it's millionaires. You have a Commissioner of Agriculture who is advocating for this medical marijuana. He's been in office for 4 years, and to date, he has yet to call a meeting with the farmers on St. Croix or St. Thomas. But just still, you can read headlines, editorial about he promoting medical marijuana. What about promoting food?
Thank you. Ms. Capehart, you have 60 seconds.
The legislature responsibility is to have oversight. And I think as one of those boards that the legislature works to find out what they have been doing to address the gross domestic product that they say that would be for the VI. My concern has always been, as a former legislator, is the regulatory aspect of it. We have to be careful of what we ask for, even though it is said that it would generate all this funding to the territory. My concern would be the regulatory aspect of it. And the legislature's responsibility is to bring accountability to this board, to review that legislation, to make sure it would not affect the quality of life of the people of the Virgin Islands. Thank you.
Again, we're going to turn our attention to environment and climate change. And on this question, Ms. Capehart, we're going to begin with you. And first, I'm going to give you a little bit of background here. For more than 30 years, the League has asked the same question regarding the development of a land and water use plan for the territory. And without fail, over the past 30 plus years, gubernatorial and senatorial candidates alike have pledged that on their watch, a plan would be developed. None has been so far. What are you going to do if you are elected to make sure that a plan is developed?
Thank you for that question. As a former employee at the Department of Planning and Natural Resources, this seems to be an avoidable topic, this land and water use plan. This would actually bring regulation to developers that I think would provide a whole Bible for this arena in the environment. So I understand the purpose of it. I would be that advocate Because as I mentioned, most of my legislation, individuals came to me and they say, this is affecting me. The land and water use plan, I trust that I would definitely be working on this. There is not everything that you can work on, but high priority areas as a land and water use plan would be important because it helps to regulate and it helps even provide business owners or developers to want to come into the territory where they have the opportunity to do responsible development.
Thank you.
Well, again, thank you.
Yes, 60 seconds now.
In my platform, I address a separate land and water use plan for agriculture zone areas. I can go forward and talk about the runoffs that damage our sea life, our marine life, and we take that for granted. For me, Megan's Bay has a beautiful beach, and the silt that runs off is now destroying the beach. Now, St. Croix, beautiful land with agriculture. Back in the 80s, we purchased about 2,000 acres called the Haveland property. Of that 2,000 acres, most of it is used up for everything else other than agriculture. We placed the U.S. Army, National Guard Armory, the high school, 2 soccer fields, the Castlebrook housing property, and now we're looking to place a cricket field and a horse, some kind of horse facility on this property other than agriculture. So you understand why we need land and water use plan to be effective in these Virgin Islands.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to continue with you, Mr. Molyneaux, but we're going to talk about housing. Many young families are leaving the territory because they cannot afford the housing market here or even find affordable rents. Some have suggested reinstituting rent control as a way of stabilizing the rental market. What is your position on rent control? And you have 60 seconds.
Well, as a former employee of the USDA Farmers Home Program, where I administered as an assistant county advisor the affordable housing program for low income, definitely there's a void in these Virgin Islands. If you look back about 1968, 69, there was a number of housing development that took place in these Virgin Islands. You had Estate Tutu, Estate Mambiju, you had area there in Science Farm. Those homes back in that era was bought for like less around $15,000, $13,000. Today, those homes are worth over $200,000. And so when you're talking about intergenerational wealth, you can see how our children can benefit and their children can benefit. But where is the affordable program? Today, to own a home in these Virgin Islands is almost impossible. That's why my platform on finance and banking, establishing a Virgin Islands Bank, will provide opportunities for Virgin Islanders for the first time to have affordable housing with an interest rate that they can afford.
Thank you. Ms. Capehart.
Thank you. I believe in home ownership. So addressing this rent control would be an encouragement of home ownership. Working with our local banks to be more friendly in lending our individuals who need homes. Working closely with VI Housing Authority with their home ownership program, the USDA. There are programs here in the Virgin Islands that encourage individuals to own their own homes. And this rent control issue that we have, we can start encouraging home ownership. It's just a matter of creativity. It's a matter of working with these banks. And we can start encouraging our individuals in the territory about home ownership. It's the most beautiful feeling to own your own home, even at a young age. And there are individuals that want to own their own home, but there are challenges, and we need to be, as legislators, to work on that for these individuals. Thank you.
Okay. Our census, we're going to demographics. Our census figures show a decrease in population. What do you see as an impact of this decrease, and what can you do as a senator if elected? 60 seconds. We begin with you, Ms. Capehart.
I think developing a stronger workforce, apprenticeship program. Not everyone wants to go to college. Training. We need to be able to have retention programs where people want to be able to stay here. There are individuals now, young people that I've spoken to, that they're ready to leave because there's nothing here for them. And I think developing a stronger workforce, working with private, public partnership would be, we can start keeping individuals here through these programs. There's so many things that we can do as a small community, and I think working on our workforce development is one of them. Thank you.
Okay, well, 60 seconds.
First question, the census decrease. Who is leaving and who is coming? Who is leaving and who is coming? You know, and if you ask me, it seems that the people who are leaving is people who look like you and me. And the people who are coming are the people who see this place as paradise, as the place where they're going to make their living, their income. You go to St. John. People use the term St. John is gone. And what actually do you think they mean by that? It means that it's now overpopulated with visitors, non-residents. And so, yes, there's a problem when it comes to the census. Maybe, I hate to take this position, maybe we need to talk to the women in our community and say we need to have additional children to offset this decrease in the population. I don't know. Maybe that could be the answer.
Thank you. Okay, we have time for each candidate to expand on any one topic of choice for 60 seconds before we move to the closing statement. Let's start with you, Ms. Capehart. We're going to give you an opportunity to talk about one topic that we may not have thought about, that is along the lines of your interests, or you can even identify major legislation.
Well, one of the things we did address is the healthcare infrastructure here in the territory. And as I said, not until you actually probably start to seek medical attention here in the territory is when you understand the quality of care that we have. This is important for me as a former administrator of Medicaid, where I've worked closely with CMS, where we've had individuals in the territory in Medicaid from 14,000 people to 30,000 people. What kind of care do we offer these individuals? Half of the time we have to airlift, half of the time we have to send them to Puerto Rico. I want to be able to create a better healthcare system here in the Virgin Islands, particularly on the island of St. Croix. We cannot afford all the time to jump on a plane to go to Cleveland Clinic, to Johns Hopkins. We need to do better for our people of St. Croix. The healthcare system must be better.
Okay, Mr. Molyneaux.
Yes, thank you. What's passionate about my platform is the reapportionment. Reapportionment. And all it means is, you know, a change to the first branch of government in terms of how we will be elected. And I'm proposing that we should have 9 district senators. Right now, we have 2 districts. And you have 7 senators per district. So the plan is to have 9 district senators, 4 in St. Croix, 4 in St. Thomas, 1 in St. John. 6 at-large senators, 3 on St. Thomas, 3 on St. Croix. The 6 at-large senators will man or chair what we call standing committees, which will be addressing issues that are concerns to all of the Virgin Islands. Example, WAPA, education, health care, public safety. And those will be standing committees that will be chaired by at-large senators.
Thank you so much. Time has gone quickly. And now, candidates, we have 60 seconds for each of you to give a closing statement, starting with you, Mr. Molyneaux.
Again, I am Tyrone Molyneaux, number 4 on your ballot, ICM candidate, asking for your support. I have been an agriculture advocate in these islands, education rights champion, labor leader, and I believe I have all the tools, all the experience to take these Virgin Islands forward so that the next generation and the next generation should be able to benefit from our work in the 35th legislature. And I will ask Ms. Diane Capehart, Senator Capehart, to join me in being a part of this platform. This platform is not about me. It's not about any particular party. It's about the people of the Virgin Islands. It's about the next generation, the next generation. So I put an offer there to Ms. Capehart to join me in making sure that this becomes a reality when we're both elected to the 35th legislature.
Okay. Thank you, candidates. And Capehart, yes. I'm sorry, Ms. Capehart.
Yes, so I am Diane Capehart. I am number 19 on the ballot, asking you for your vote. I've been a public servant in this community, and I want to continue being your public servant. As I mentioned, I was in the 38th legislature before. I served with integrity. I left with my integrity, and I'm running on my integrity again. I am leadership that you can trust. I brought 58 bills and amendments. Now they are 8 impactful legislation, from the Home Invasion, Preferred Bidders Act, computer crimes, missing persons. I want to continue working on your behalf. I just don't go along to get along. I'm a consensus builder. I serve with respect. I have ethics, ethical, and I want to continue working hard on your behalf. I ask for your vote and your support this coming election. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, and thank you, WTJX and staff, for today's program. The League of Women Voters hopes this program has helped with your understanding of the candidates, and in doing so, will inform your vote in November. Thank you for watching. I am Denyce Singleton of the League of Women Voters of the Virgin Islands, saying vote early or vote in November, but vote. Thank you.